Routine can be a pleasant mistress whom it is hard to resist, for routine makes the time go by faster. This quote by Nelson Mandela from the College Board stimulus Long Walk to Freedom suggests that oftentimes people tend to find some form of contentment in routine, which as a result may help pass the time. Now, as per the theory of relativity, the rate at which time passes depends on your frame of reference. And due to research conducted, individuals who engage in constant habits and routine have shown to have decreased perspectives of time. Now, Nelson Mandela, being a former South African prisoner in a maximum security prison, serves as a viable source and has the perspective needed in order to know what prison life was truly like. The time argument is crucial, especially for those inmates who are facing one of the longer, unusual prison sentences. This prompts the question, how have inmates' futures been impacted by prison life in South Africa over the past 50 years? Which leads to the argument that the prison system has had a negative impact on inmates as well as their futures and should be remodeled. Good afternoon, my name is Andres Villamaiser, and this is corruption in South African prisons. The three main points being examined today include poor living conditions, which show the effects on inmates after being incarcerated as well as after being released. Mental health, which shows how and why prisons should be held accountable for the well-being of inmates. And education, which has research that shows why education inside of the prison has been proven to decrease recidivism rates. Now, poor living conditions, which include overcrowding, have been shown to increase violence rates in South African prisons. The limited access to basic resources, as well as the inability for staff to monitor the unusually high number of inmates, serves as a catalyst for increased violence, as there is no one to oversee everything going on in the prison. Additionally, this large number of inmates have shown to keep said inmates from receiving proper hygiene and sanitation due to there not being enough resources allocated to said cause. Overcrowding also makes it much more difficult to completely isolate sick inmates, which as a result allows illnesses and viruses to spread at a much greater rate. Now, the inadequate access to basic resources and nutrients has greatly contributed to a wide range of health problems for inmates. Thus, this inability to access basic things such as food, water, and other nutrients has been proven to increase recidivism rates in South African prisons solely due to the fact that upon release, the physical and mental issues caused by this far outweigh any positive qualities. Now, individuals who go to prison are usually linked to some form of a mental disorder. The harsh living conditions as well as exposure to certain trauma in prisons only work as a way to expand upon these disorders and leave inmates worse off than they were before. In the initial systematic review by Faisal and Danish in 2002, 21% of female inmates had antisocial personality disorder, or ASPD, and 25% had borderline personality disorder, or BPD. This study focuses on female inmates in Durban, South Africa, and examines the prevalence of mental illness amongst the population. The results of the study suggest that inmates are at a much higher risk of experiencing mental health problems such as depression and anxiety due to the lack of support available in prisons, which can only make existing mental health problems worse. As can be seen from these statistics, 21% of females were diagnosed with antisocial personality disorder, 24% with post-traumatic stress disorder, and 45% with anxiety, depressive, and psychotic disorder, amongst others. Which only goes further to prove that there is a form of commonness among a variety of mental disorders in prisons that have yet to be looked into and treated. Research shows that a great number of inmates, especially those who have committed crimes, did not receive proper education, and most of these inmates didn't go to college or receive any form of a degree. The recidivism rates in South Africa are a record-setting 95% higher than most, if not all, countries. One of the main reasons for this is because most times individuals commit crimes in order to make ends meet. They are incarcerated, and due to a lack of resources and support, they leave prison a couple years later no better than how they came in, thus continuing the cycle of crime. If education were to be integrated throughout the prison so that it becomes a secure learning organization, perhaps greater benefits would follow, thus encouraging inmates to continue education after their release to become lifelong learners. This statement by Christopher Moore shows how a positive learning environment can benefit inmates in the long run, as well as the country overall, since working citizens would bring more money into the economy. and so forth. Economic hardships, as well as their inability for inmates to fit into their society, most of the times, is what caused them to get into the world of crime, yet a positively reinforced education system may serve as a way to reintegrate them into society afterwards, where they can get a job and have a professional life as most would want to have, thus decreasing the rate of crime and recidivism, Research conducted by Cornell's shows that recidivism rates drop by about 20%, if not more, after inmates received some form of education, which just goes to prove the fact that education in South African prisons can play a vital role in reducing recidivism rates and promoting a successful reintegration into society. So what can be concluded from this? The inadequate allocation of resources from the government, as well as the harsh conditions inmates are living in, with things such as poor healthcare and a lack of education, have failed to address underlying issues, ultimately failing to prepare inmates for a successful reintegration into society. Thank you. These are my works cited. I'm open to questions.
I have two questions for you. Back up a little bit. Thank you, sir. What information did you need that you weren't able to locate?
I wasn't able to locate where and how prisons allocate their resources, and I needed that mostly for the overcrowding perspective, since we need to know where the funds are going as to know where we can better put them.
Okay. And what additional questions emerged as you were going through the research?
I wanted to look more into the perspective of prison guards, as most of the times in South African prisons they have been proven to be corrupt, but sometimes these prison guards are not corrupt and they may have a viable perspective that can be used in their research.